What's up, you guys? This is SentryProductions, and welcome back to another episode of the Watchtower series. If you're new here, this is just basically a deep dive into my toy photography. I take you through my setups, how I light my setups, how I pose my figures, the ideas behind it, all that stuff. We're starting off this episode with I would call this an overview. I don't really want to call this a review, but for some of you old heads that have been in the SentryProductions kind of Marvel Legends community toy sphere for years now. You know, back in the day, I used to review action figures, mainly Marvel Legends, so it's been quite a long time since I've done that, so I don't really know how I will fare compared to a lot of the reviewers that are out and about nowadays. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on this 2-pack. You know, Hasbro's been kind of giving us updates on these X-Force characters. Now, the Warpath came out really long time ago in a 2-pack with Deadpool, if I remember correctly, in this same outfit, and then he had a running change or a variant figure where he was in his more traditional blue and red getup. That figure was extremely outdated, but at the time it was very sought after and it was very difficult to get. And if I may say so myself, I was also the first person to review that. If I recall, I reviewed that in a San Diego Comic-Con bathroom, courtesy of Solid Snake in My Pants. If any of you guys remember who that was, make sure to drop a comment. Be like, oh, I remember that dude! Anthony, great dude. I haven't talked to that guy in probably about a decade now. But and then the X-23 we got not that long ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. I can't remember exactly which wave. Was it the Sasquatch wave? Build-A-Figure wave? It might have been, but yeah, that figure is not too far off from what we have now, but there's been some kind of subtle improvements and some extra accessories that we got with this X-23 that have been pretty nice. So let me start off with the X-23. Let's just do a quick overview of her. Alright, so like I said, I have not done a review in a while, so if this seems like a very janky setup and not professional, it's because it is. Because it's not professional. But yeah, so what has changed on this X-23 from what I've gathered by looking at the older version is, of course, we got 2 new head sculpts. We've got this cool, hopefully this tracks, got this really nice screaming Laura head right here, which looks fantastic. Got her hair kind of waving in the wind there, and then she's got the double jointed elbows, which on this figure is actually really nice. I think that it really helps this figure a lot, and it feels, the claws seem to be exactly the same as what we've gotten in the past. And then we've also got the boot claws, which is not much different. There is a rotation at the boot. I can't remember if the old one did that or not, but when I got this figure, I was like, okay, it's alright. It's a nice, I guess it's somewhat updated from the old one. I really like the addition of the double jointed elbows. This belt was kind of rattling around, so I just super glued it in place. I don't know why they don't do that. Maybe it's to help with something, maybe with posing wise or something, but I found that once I super glued it, it actually kind of helped me pose the figure around more, because now I don't have to worry about the belt sliding up and down or being crooked or whatever. So I did my best to kind of align it the best I could. But what I did do with this figure is, when I got her, she didn't really lean forward that much, and she didn't really lean back that much. I probably got to about here with leaning back. Let me get this arm out of the way. Leaning back, and then maybe that for leaning forward. So what I did is actually popped the top part of the torso off, and I got underneath there. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it. And I just kind of shaved parts of this. Ignored my nasty fingernail. Like, I stepped on my finger a couple days back. But I shaved like the inside of there on the back, kind of towards the camera. And I did the exact same thing on the front here. So when you have her really leaning forward, you guys can't really see it in camera right now, but there's kind of a bit of a hole. But the range you get after doing that is just drastically different. And I'm really happy I did that, because she can lean back and lean forward a lot better. She does come with an extra head sculpt, which is also good, but both of her expressions are like angry expressions. I would have liked a more neutral expression, so I kind of like a yin to the yang. Got the screaming head with maybe a Laura not so screaming, but I know we did get that version of Laura, a head sculpt at least, from the all-new Wolverine figure a while back, so I guess you can probably pop that on here. But overall, I really do like this X-23 figure. I think it's a nice little update, and I got a shot planned for her, actually in this scene right here, this little forest scene. So you know what, let's just pop right over to that. Let's check out that scene real quick while we're still talking about the X-23 figure here. Alright, so I got a little X-23 shot here, and I gotta say that little mod that I did in the center of her chest really allows for her to lean forward a lot better than what the initial range of motion allowed. So really helped with this shot. What's the idea for this shot? X-23 killing a soldier. Poor Sergeant Stalker here. I'm using the G.I. Joe classified retro Sergeant Stalker with a beachhead beret. The idea was like he's just some random soldier in the middle of a forest, and I was kind of just playing around with this figure, and I wanted to do something with her boot claw. Is that what they call it in the comics? I think that's what they call it, foot claw or something. I'm not sure. So it's a pretty simple shot. This whole shot is actually fairly simple. From like the idea to me finishing the shot was probably like 2 hours. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Just gonna remove the stand, obviously, in post, and it works perfectly with this screaming head. Got to make sure when you're doing like these karate type moves, you know, you got her right leg really swinging. Got to make sure the left leg is in the right position. Make sure her arms are in the right position. So what I tend to do is I'll look up reference photos. So I looked up like, what did I look up for? Right leg front kick, and just kind of scrolled until I found something that made sense. I think it was flying front kick. I think that's what I looked up. And yeah, I came up with this, and I just want to make sure I have all of the extremities in the right position, because, you know, if you don't have them in the right position, hopefully you would be able to look at your shot and be like, this doesn't look natural. So this looks pretty natural to me. Doing a nighttime shot, just got 3 random trees in the background. People always ask me about these trees. This tree right here is from some random eBay set, and then the other 2 trees were made by Myron Studios, who I don't think is any longer on Instagram, unfortunately. That guy really made some fantastic stuff, and I'm happy that I have a lot of his dioramas, and to this day, still probably my favorite diorama maker. But so the last episode I was talking a lot about layering. So the layering for this shot, foreground, we got this little fake bonsai tree right here. You can find this on Amazon. Fake bonsai tree. It's something Simon Hill told me years and years ago, and I've always kind of just looked around on Amazon for stuff like this, and it just works really perfectly. So that's my front layer. Then of course we've got all the action in the middle there, and then we got the trees in the back for our background, or back layer, whatever you want to call it. Foreground, middle ground, background. Yeah, background. For lighting, it's not really that insane. I've got my little rim light, reading light right there. It's giving a lot of light right here. I guess I can tilt this normally. Then I've got this light to give her some back glow, this light to light the cutout and Stalker, and then I've got this light to give them some more back glow. So the issue with this shot, I would say there's a couple things about this shot that irk me, but I was kind of too far along to kind of switch stuff around. Well, I guess that's not really the case. I guess I could have switched it around if I wanted to, but maybe I'm just being lazy right now. But the 2 main things I was having issues with is this cutout. By my standards, I don't know what you guys might think this cutout looks great, but by my standards, I think this is kind of a little bit of a janky cutout. It doesn't have the best cuts. This is one of my earlier cutouts. I was looking for a sound effect action bubble that would make sense with her stabbing somebody, and this was the only one I had. I was hoping I had a slash or like a stab or something, but I only had shunk, which still works, but it's not the greatest cutout. And when you shine a light this close, I got a light right here, when you shine it this close, it really kind of brings out all the inconsistencies. Sorry, battery died. So like I said, when you have a light that's shining this close to the cutout, it really brings out the inconsistency. So fortunately, I was able to focus on the X-23, and even though I'm using a very high f-stop, I think I'm working with f10 here, which my normal f-stop range that I typically work with, I would say, is between like 4 and 4.5 to 5.6. That's usually like my comfort zone. So f10 is a lot higher, so you get a lot more in focus, but just this one is just enough out of focus that you don't see a lot of those inconsistencies, but you will see some of those inconsistencies in the color. So the red doesn't really shine through, and then the black around the edge kind of has a lot of like white spots. So cutout is not super well made, but it works for what it is. This is just kind of a fun little quick shot I threw together. The other thing is I'm working with the black background, and this is a nighttime shot. I recently speaking about nighttime shots and how sometimes I have some issues with them, and that I feel like I provide too much light with my nighttime shots, which I still think I do. Something I'm still trying to work on. So I was trying to push myself to do a nighttime shot, but this is a character that has a lot of black spots on her costume, and we have the black background back here, so that causes a problem. You got to make sure that you can still see the outline of the character, but at the same time you don't want to overexpose it. So I feel like I did my best to balance it, but I think it could have been done better. How could I have changed that? Just like off the top of my head, switching up the background. I could have changed it from black and added just like a forest background. That way I could work more on my lighting and trying to maybe make it so that the lights are not too much on the figures. And then the background will kind of distinguish the figure from the background. You can see the outline, you can see its silhouette, and you can just kind of tell what the action is going on here. But since I got the black, I've got a lot of lights really concentrated on these figures. So even though I still feel like you'll get the vibe that this is a nighttime shot, that also paired with the fact that it's a white fluorescent shot, so it's kind of got that cooling effect. It's still something I kind of need to work on as far as nighttime shots, because I see a lot of people that really focus. A lot of people only do nighttime shots, and some of them are really amazing. There's so many talented toy photographers out there that just do such a fantastic job with nighttime shots. So something I'm working on. Regardless, I still had a lot of fun with this shot. Got the little blood effect in there, and got a little bit of sticky tack behind that. Trying to get her posed on this was rather difficult too. I forgot to tell you guys, there's also a light right here. That's to give some outline to Stalker here, so you can see his face. His face was kind of getting lost in that shot, so that light coming from below hitting the side of his face, you can kind of see the outline of his nose and his mouth and the top of his head a little bit better. But here's my quick little X-23 nighttime shot. Still working out the kinks, still trying to be better. And you know, I don't have all the answers, not yet at least, for toy photography. So, but for what it is, I think this is a fun little shot. And yeah, I actually like this figure a lot more than I thought I would. Like I said earlier, you know, I know it's not the greatest upgrade in the world, but it does just enough to make me like it way more than the older figure. So. Alright, so for this Warpath figure, I've had this figure on my desk now for probably about 2 weeks, and I just keep coming back to it. It is by far my favorite of the 2-pack. I have a feeling it's probably going to be most people's favorite of the 2-pack. I love the character Warpath. I've always loved the character Warpath. James Proudstar, I think he's such a cool character. I love his power set. I love his character, you know, him joining X-Force. You know, this is from the initial was it the 2008 to 2010 run? Was that Christopher Yost, I believe? I know Christopher Yost did a run, and then Rick Remender did a run. I think Rick Remender did the second run from like 2011 and onward. But the team had changed a little bit. This initial team was like, who is it? It was Wolverine, Warpath, X-23, and then, god damn it, I'm forgetting someone really important. I think Archangel joined like further on in, but this was like of the two different runs. This is from X-Force Volume 3. I think this is kind of the more gnarlier run as far as like them really murdering people. And it was surprising to me seeing, I remember at the time, because I was really getting into comics heavy around that time. I remember I read a little bit of New Mutants. I think he appeared New Mutants number 16, I believe. I have his first appearance too. I think graded, probably a low grade, but I remember when he joined the team, I remember thinking, oh, Warpath never seemed like kind of like a really violent, super violent guy, so it was very interesting to see him on that team. And throughout that run, he really struggled a lot with like killing and kind of rediscovering himself, and it was just a lot of character development for him, and it was a really cool run. That run is so good. That X-Force Volume 3, it's an amazing read. You guys definitely should get to it. But anyways, I love this character. You know, he has a crazy power set. He's like 290 pounds. He's huge. He can run like 100 miles an hour. He has super strength. He's got 2 knives. I think the knives are vibranium. There has been some, like at one point they were adamantium and then they're vibranium, but I believe Storm gifted him vibranium ones. So yeah, this character's really cool. He comes with 2 sets of hands. He's got a pair of fisted hands. Doesn't come with an extra head. But I did do something really sneaky when I sold my other Warpath figure, the 2010 2-pack one. I kept his knives. So let me put the knives he came with. Okay, here is the knife that came with that 2010 version. It's got the painted handles that are silver. The actual silver on the blade is a very shiny silver. So I actually ended up keeping these 2 blades, and they look just worlds better than the ones that came with the Warpath in this 2-pack. The ones that came with the Warpath in this one, you can see compared to this one, they're just not nearly as good. So I'm really happy. If you guys hear that, that's my dog scratching his head. God, this review is going so great. But overview, not review. Anyways, you can see the difference in the paint right there, hopefully. So I kept these knives with him, and then you can see how he stacks up next to his older version that came in the, goddamn, I don't even remember what wave this Warpath came in, but both great figures. This one's obviously on the Omega Red Buck, and I just think it's definitely way better than this buck, but they're fairly similar. They do share some parts, I think like the upper arm and like the upper leg and stuff like that, but overall, Warpath is just such a cool character. This is such an upgrade from that 2010 2-pack version, and it is a lot of fun. If you like that Sabretooth figure, you're gonna love this figure. I mean, you're gonna love it. So I got a little scene for him as well planned, and we're gonna see how that turns out. I'm actually pretty stoked about it, but yeah, a little overview of those 2 figures. I think this is a great 2-pack, and if you guys are collecting these X-Force figures and these outfits from those 2 runs, you cannot go wrong with this Warpath. He is just fantastic. You know, along with the X-Force kind of theming, I wanted to kind of go for another night shot, and I'm actually really proud of how this one came out. I got this little rock wall facade that I bought on eBay, or maybe I bought it on Macari years and years and years ago, and it's like 5 or 6 separate pieces that you can actually combine to create like a little landscape, but I don't think I've ever taken a shot of them like that. I've always stacked them on top of each other to create a rock wall. I've used this for a King Kong shot, for a Hercules shot, all kinds of different shots. So something about X-Force just kind of makes me want to do nighttime shots. So I've got this nice little 11 by 17 print back here. Let me see if I can focus on that so you guys can see it a little bit better, but I don't know, it's just like some random rock wall shit with greenery, and it doesn't this shit match this rock wall hella well? I think it does. I think it looks really good. I think they match each other very well. And the idea here is he's climbing up this rock wall with his knives, which I don't know if he's done that in the comics, but he's certainly very strong, and it would not be very difficult for him to do something like this. And of course his knives are, you know, they say sometimes his knives are made of adamantium, sometimes they're made of vibranium. I believe I read somewhere that Storm gifted him the knives from Wakanda, and so obviously they're vibranium. But yeah, so for this setup, so that's the idea, guys. He's got the flight stand that's holding him up. This is going to be removed in post. I just wasn't really able to get him sitting on the wall without that stand. And he's just basically holding on, looking at this valley or wherever he's at. And what's funny, if you guys have already noticed, we got Giant Man giving me a little helping hand. He's kind of holding up this rock wall for me right here, which, you know, sometimes you're looking for something to help you out, like prop stuff up for figure photography, and you know, Giant Man's always had my back, so and he's literally got Warpath's back, or he's using his back to get Warpath's back. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, so just kind of clever framing, so you can kind of see the edge of the print right there. So I think my framing's going to be more like right here. And look at this, even though the print ends right here, look at all this extra space I have right here, and then all this rock wall's filling in all this extra space. So even though the print is only about half the size of this setup, since I have the rock wall, it really makes it feel a lot more open, which I really like. So for lighting, what do we got here? We got a little blue accent light right here, because this background is blue. This is on the white fluorescent white balance. So throwing in a little bit of blue kind of gives that feel of nighttime. I don't really do it all that often, throwing in blues for nighttime shots, because the white fluorescent white balance is already kind of gives a blue tint to everything anyways. But I don't know, this shot just needs a little extra something. And then I've got a huge light right here, one of my E-Mart lights that's giving light to the background, giving a little bit of light to the rock wall in the back of him right here, but that blue light's kind of washing out any of that white light. Got another light right here that's just below. It's not really on really high setting or anything, it's just to give a little bit of underglow from the background. If you guys have watched my other episodes, you know I always talk about kind of giving the background a little bit of an underglow. It just always kind of gives a really cool effect. And then the main light that's doing most of the work is this light right here. This is just like a book LED light strip light lamp for reading at night, but it just works wonders for rim lighting, and it just looks really good. And I think the main thing with this shot for me was really getting the angle. So let me pull this a little bit closer. So, you know, if I have the angle like this, even though this is kind of at it's looking straight on, since the setup itself is at an angle, I want to kind of move my camera with the angle. So when I move my camera, now it really makes it makes Warpath appear as if he's hanging from the wall. So if I have my camera shot straight on, I don't really get that effect, but when I tilt the camera with the angle, now we kind of get the sense like he's hanging on. So sometimes you got to do that with your shots. Like for instance, like I wasn't able to get this rock wall completely up straight. So here my camera is very straight. Look at the angle of the rock wall. I wasn't able to get it completely up straight. So sometimes you're gonna have to angle your camera with your shot to kind of get the desired framing that you want. But overall, I'm really happy with this shot. I know I was talking about the nighttime shots a little bit earlier with X-23 and how I've been working on them, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss, but this one I'm definitely feeling is a hit. And I'm actually not going to do any color correcting on this shot at all. I'm just going to remove the stand, because usually I would go into Lightroom and kind of play around with the colors, but sometimes the camera just, I don't know, you get the right background, you get the right lighting, and sometimes the camera just gives you the exact color that you want. So I'm not going to have to do any corrections for that, so I'm really happy. And all I'm going to have to do is remove that stand and maybe brighten up the eyes a little bit so I can get some of that red. The red just really pops in this setup, and yeah, I think it's just this shot just really came together. I kind of had a very baseline idea, and it really kind of pulled through. I'm really happy about this. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Watchtower. If you guys got any feedback, please leave it down below. If there's any things you would have changed, or any scenes or characters you want to see in a future episode of the Watchtower, please let me know. Leave me a comment below. Just telling me anything you feel I should know. And this is SentryProductions, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.